Welcome to my Altra Timp 5 review.
Shaking the case of your heart, washing your face of the blood. I didn't know you act tough.
Thank you for tuning in to another very adequate review. My name's Ryan. I'm a 43-year-old hybrid athlete. I enjoy doing CrossFit and competing in trail races and some occasional road runs. I'm not a heavy-duty runner. Therefore, I kind of review these shoes to see which will give me an edge, how comfortable are they, and I run races anywhere from 1 mile trail race all the way up to a 50K trail race. So today we're reviewing the Altra Timp 5. I've never owned a pair of Timps before this. I was intrigued because I believe they've really changed the Lone Peaks to be a hiking, rucking shoe that you can also run in. So I thought this year maybe I'd try to get a dedicated running shoe. I ended up also getting the Mont Blanc Carbon, which I reviewed last week. So this week I'm reviewing the Timp 5 by Altra. It's a very good shoe. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it, and I am definitely very enthusiastic about what might come from this. My new feeling about a higher stack height shoe and a shoe truly meant for running. Previously, again, I enjoyed the Lone Peaks. I've used the Superiors, and my favorite Altra trail shoe was the King MT, which they no longer make, but I love that line of shoes. It was very minimalistic, very low stack height, great grip, great outsole, also a Vibram outsole, and I was very disappointed when they got rid of that. So I went to the Superior and Lone Peaks. I enjoyed the Superior, but I did not like the Superior 6, so I had been Lone Peak 6, Lone Peak 7, Lone Peak 8, and then decided to try the Timp 5. So the Timp 5, again, I wear 9.5, so all these weights are based off my shoe. It's a 280 gram shoe like this, and it's 294 grams if you wear the Altra Gator. Comparatively, the Mont Blanc Carbon's 259 grams without the Gator and 274 grams with the Gator. The Timp 5 does feature a Vibram outsole, so very similar setup to the Mont Blanc Carbon. The tread pattern, the lugs, the tread pattern is definitely different, but the lugs are about similar depth, similar grippiness, definitely a different pattern, a different layout. It was a Vibram Mega Grip. As I said, it's the same Mega Grip that is on the Mont Blanc Carbon. And the upper is a quick dry air mesh. I myself avoid the water when I can. It is pretty thin, but not nearly as thin as the Mont Blanc Carbon. I mean, the weight is definitely coming from the size and the actual shoe when compared to the Mont Blanc Carbon. The Mont Blanc Carbon, I can feel in my hand, it is lighter. It's more airy. It's not as protective. It's just, you can tell the Mont Blanc Carbon is an all-day ultra running shoe, where the Timp 5, I believe you could also easily run an ultra in it, but it is definitely, surprisingly, feels like a faster shoe to me. The stack height, both of them are 29 millimeters. The cushion is high. The Mont Blanc Carbon's also high, and the Lone Peak 8 is considered a medium cushioning, and this is also a neutral stability shoe. So it does not help you, how your foot wants to land. It's just going to land with your natural gait, which is what I prefer. I am a 4-foot striker, especially when running, and I really enjoyed the shoe after the initial break-in, which I'll go into more of that later. So first I'm going to start off with reviewing this one because it is a hiking and running shoe, whereas the Mont Blanc Carbon is pretty much just a running shoe. You're not going to want to run, hike rather, in the Mont Blanc Carbon. You could, obviously you could, but it's a rather expensive shoe to wear for hiking. And Vibram outsole on this, Vibram also outsole on this, so this kind of, to me, would make more sense to go hiking in. I've tested this with rucking, I've tested it with some hiking, and then obviously running. So from the hiking perspective, I definitely, and I'll be splicing in video stats and whatnot while I'm talking, but up here, if you're hiking, I think I'm going to lace this final lace loop up, just because when you walk, it kind of, when you heel strike, it kind of does this, then that, this, then that. And if you're not wearing gaiters, I definitely was having stuff get in the shoe. When running, I'll keep it laced as I currently have it because I find that to be more comfortable. I don't like my ankle super locked in. Also, this is a much more substantial shoe than the Lone Peak 8 and the Mont Blanc Carbon. It fit this comes up much higher. It's hard to see, but the Timp 5 is a much more substantial shoe. This almost feels like a mid-top. It's so high compared to the Mont Blanc Carbon and the Lone Peak 8. The upper is almost like a canvas material. I mean, this is strong. You can hear me scratching. It's got the extra stuff here for when you're kicking rocks. I mean, it's so much more firm than the Mont Blanc Carbon, which is something you want if you're doing some hardcore running and hiking. It's got a big heel cushion, nice loop, gaiter. It also has a legitimate gaiter connect, whereas the Mont Blanc Carbon, you just connected it to the laces. So if you're big into the gaiters and you don't like connecting it to the lace, good news, the Timp 5 has a dedicated lace connect. So I do like it for hiking and rucking. In the video, I'm rucking with about 65 pounds on my back, and it felt comfortable. The sole is not too squishy for the hiking, but you can definitely see there's some squish to it. It does have a bit of the extra grip going over the heel, similar to the Lone Peak, which Vibram says helps, or geez, not Vibram, Altra will say helps you on the downhill. And it's a very good hiking shoe, actually. I do prefer the Lone Peak for hiking just because it is a roomier toe box. So I'll probably be sticking with the Lone Peak even for an all-day hike. So this does offer more cushioning. It has a higher stack height. It's a more substantial shoe than the Lone Peak, and it's lighter than the Lone Peak. But I do like the fit and the wide toe box on the Lone Peak 8 more so than the Timp 5, because the Timp 5 is a standard fit. Running in the Lone Peak is what kind of changed me to want to try the Timp 5. The Timp 5 is in my opinion, a running shoe that you can hike in, whereas the Lone Peak is a hiking shoe that you can run in. You can see this looks like a running shoe. It's got a little more aggressive toe off. It is lighter than the Lone Peak 8. And I will say, when I put it on, I immediately felt like, okay, this is a running shoe. It made me want to run. I felt faster in it. I felt good going up hills, down hills, left to right, switchbacks. It was a very athletic feeling shoe. The negative to it was the initial fit. The Altra Carbon and the Lone Peak 8, when I put my foot into them, they felt good. The Timp 5 really felt tight right here in the toe box. It took my initial run, which I probably did about 3 to 5 miles in, again doing the interval style running, to really get them broken in. In the video I'm overlaying, I'm doing the what is now popular, the Norwegian intervals. 4 minutes of hard running, 3 minutes of jogging, 4 rounds of that, and then I do some, you know, hiking and more jogging afterwards. That was kind of what's in this video that I've overlaid. But overall, it's a very good running shoe. It just took some break-in. The Ego Max is comfortable, and I prefer it to the Mont Blanc Carbon. I'll just come out and say that. The Mont Blanc Carbon, to me, after rerunning in this, the Mont Blanc Carbon would probably be for marathon distance or greater. So 20 plus, I know marathon's 26 miles, but 20 miles plus or greater. Anything less than 20 miles, I'd probably just go for the Timp 5. It's got the Vibram outsole. It's got a good toe off. It's got energy return. It's very comfortable once you break it in. So just be aware of that the initial break-in period was about 3 to 5 miles. So don't judge it initially just based off how it feels. It is going to be tighter than the Lone Peak. You can see it's got great Vibram outsole. It is a substantial shoe. So the negative would be it's a substantial shoe. If you want a truly minimalist upper, this is not it. This comes all the way up to my ankle cup. Ankle cup comes all the way up to my ankle. This covers my heel completely. The tongue is thick. It's a real, I mean, you know you're wearing like a shoe. It does not feel like a boot, but it almost feels like a mid-top rather than a complete low top like the Mont Blanc Carbon and even the Lone Peak 8. This on the Mont Blanc Carbon sits much lower. This sits much lower. So if you don't like the idea of like a shoe rubbing up on your ankle and heel, consider the Lone Peak 8 or the Mont Blanc Carbon or an older Mont Blanc. The laces are good. The gaiter fits great, and it rides really well after that initial break-in. I was shocked at how much I enjoyed rucking in it. I really thought I would only enjoy running in it. The colorway, I like this colorway. I don't particularly care for the other colorways that much. But it's it really shocked me because I really did not enjoy it at first. That first 3 miles, it legit hurt, especially my right foot. After relacing in the break-in period, you can see the creases finally here. It fits great. It feels great. I can walk around in it all day now, and I truly think it's a great running shoe. Vibram did a terrific job with it. Just be aware it's going to fit a little tighter, especially if you're coming from the Lone Peak 8. The Lone Peak 8 is a great shoe, but I feel like Vibram's really turned that into a hiking shoe that you can that just happens to be pretty good at running in. Whereas if you are really looking for probably Vibram's premier running shoe for someone who just wants to go out and run and enjoys the trails, I think the Timp 5 is where you want to go. Again, the only real con I have to it is this sits up higher. I would like it a little lower, and then that break-in period. Outside of that, it's done great on the grip. It's done great in the mud for me. It's uphill, downhill, like I said, switchbacks, jumping in it, jumping the creek, all that good stuff. It's been a truly good shoe, and it makes, for me, I am not a big ultra runner. I do about one a year. Really, the Mont Blanc Carbon unnecessary for someone like myself. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. If you could leave a like, subscribe, obviously that'd be great. If you have any questions, please leave them, and I'll try to answer them in the comment section. Thank you.